Hello everyone, my name is Florent Farge, and in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about photography and painting. We all know it's okay for an artist to use photography, but is it not better to work only from life? I mean, as a classically trained artist or any type of artist that uses traditional techniques, is it not better to work from life and have real models instead of working from a photograph, which might seem like cheating? Well, let's think about this. Of course, I will not be talking about still life, and I will not be talking about plein air. This would mainly apply to painting the figure or painting portraits, everything that is related to the human form. First of all, let's talk about working from life. Working from life is something that I really recommend everyone try. See if there's a class around you that has life model sessions. Because working from life is a completely unique set of skills. It forces you to see differently. You'll have to compensate for the natural movement of the model. A human naturally sways, and it might ruin your artwork in the beginning when you're not used to it. But once you understand how it works, and once you figure out how to compensate for this natural sway, your painting and drawing might actually look more natural because it will adapt to this natural position. Another good thing about working from life is that it forces you to stick to a schedule and work intensively. Model time is precious time, so if you have someone that is okay to sit for you, even if it's a friend or someone from your family, make sure that you don't waste their time once your model is here to sit for you. Everything has to be prepared before it starts so that you should not waste any time when it actually starts. It is also necessary to use a timer and decide in advance how long the sessions will be before it starts, how long will the breaks be. Everything has to be decided before. Being a model is pretty tough. You should try just standing and not moving for 20 minutes to see how tough it is. So please be serious about it and do not waste your model's time. Working from life is definitely a human experience that's comparable to nothing else. And this is something that can affect your way of working and bring a unique character to your work. Your model might even suggest you some changes and make your painting evolve. Finally, working from life is a long process that you can make evolve. You have a lot of time to change things. I remember once with a model I suggested a change in hairstyle after 9 hours or 12 hours, and it worked well. With a photograph, I wouldn't have had this option. But even if I love working from life, I use photography for painting very often, and it works great. Working with photography is great for several reasons. It is fast and practical. You just take a picture and work on your painting when you have time. It doesn't require asking a friend to stay still for hours or paying for a model, which can be expensive. And if you have Photoshop or GIMP or any type of editing software, you can edit the picture and have an idea of possible changes you might want to do with paint. You can easily preview composition or color choices. I want to take some time to answer the most common objection, saying that for a traditional or classically trained artist, working from a photo is not the real thing. Some people say that photography doesn't allow the painting to convey lifelike emotions. Photography, being an intermediate step between the painter and the subject, would, according to these people, make things look more inexpressive. First of all, it is true for a random picture taken without any technique, but a good photo can be as good and sometimes even better than what appears in real life because it focuses on the subject. Taking a picture frames the subject and already provides some elements for composition. Where do you place the light? How does the model stand? Everything is already decided once you take the picture. And my second argument is that a photo for a painter is just like any other tool, and you don't have to copy everything from the photo. I have to agree that simply painting a copy of a photo is irrelevant, but it's the same thing when you work from life. As an artist, you only take what you need from nature and leave the rest. When you carefully select what needs to be on your painting and what needs to be left out, you're already making the work of an artist. Look at this picture of Bouguereau in his studio. As you can see, the model doesn't look at all like what he's painting because he is already selecting what needs to go in his painting and what doesn't need to go there. So he is already making artistic work by just selecting this type of things. And final argument, a photo is sometimes the only way to capture some things that you couldn't paint either in a studio or plein air. Photography is just another tool for the modern painter, and it would be a shame to leave it out. But you need to know how to use it as a painter. Photography and painting have been competing in their history of art, and it's safe to say that photography has forced the world of painting into some kind of revolution in the 19th century. Photography is everywhere nowadays. Millions of photos are taken every second. But in this world, I think that painting is still relevant because it has a specific identity. It conveys the hand of the artist, and it has something very unique. This is why a painting made from a photograph has to keep its identity as a painting, in my opinion. Don't try to copy the style of the photo, and let paint be paint. So there is a photographic style and a painting style. And don't hesitate to make your painting look like a painting, and do not necessarily try to replicate the style of the photography with the depth of field, all these things that are part of the aesthetics of photography. When I use a photo, I generally use it insofar as I need to get the proportions right in the beginning, and then I can abandon it and completely let paint do the work. Photography and painting don't have to be in competition with each other. As a painter, you want photography to serve the purpose of your work. It's a modern tool that should not be discarded. How to use photography as a painter? That's the question. So first of all, you need some material. You should get a good or at least a decent DSLR camera with a decent lens. I have a budget kit that works well enough for what I want to do with it. Then you need a tripod and you're good to go. You want a DSLR camera because it's the only way to have good quality lenses and also have complete control over the manual settings, because you actually need to go into photography a little bit and use manual settings. You need to know how to take a picture. Photography has three main dimensions: ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. There are countless videos on YouTube explaining how these work. So I'm not going to get into detail. I really suggest that you go check it out. Then you need to control the white balance and not put it in automatic and have it so that the colors of your photograph match what you actually see in real life. You also want to control the exposure and the histogram. You want to have enough light on your photograph to actually be able to see your subject. Then you need to be able to use Photoshop if needed, because it is a great tool to think about composition. You can add filters to preview the final result. It doesn't replace all the studies that you can do with paint, but it can really help and make you save some time and make your reference picture more usable. Finally, printing might be a good idea as well because it's difficult to figure out colors from a computer screen. A monitor creates its own light, so the visual impression of color is very different from what you can get on a canvas. And it might be disturbing. So it might be best to print the reference picture sometimes. Be careful that printers have settings for color correspondence, so you need to find the right settings before printing. And that's about it. So my final thoughts on photography and painting is just that it would be a shame for a modern painter to not use photography at all. Photography is a great tool and it's good if you can use it. In my opinion, photography is just like a ruler or an eraser. It's just a tool that you can use if you need it, and you can abandon it once you don't have any use for it anymore. But it's a great tool, and I think that using it might make your work more creative, and it might widen your views. Let me know what you think about photography. Do you use it for painting? Do you prefer to paint from life? I don't think that a lot of people work from life only today. I mean, it's just so easy to take a photo and work from that, but it's also very important to have a good photo and work with good references if you want to make things relevant as a painter. Because in the end, you don't want your painting to be a mere copy of a photograph. You want your painting to be a painting that stands on its own. So the photograph has to be forgotten. The photograph is not an end in itself, it's a mean to the end, and the end is to paint a great painting. So let me know what you think about photography, and I see you on the next one, guys. Have fun painting.